What is going on, my beautiful LARPers and LARPettes? Today we're going to go over something very exciting to me. The Smith and Wesson Bodyguard 2.0, and hopefully my camera can pick that up because sometimes small little packages like this don't get picked up with the autofocus. But you guys know out there, when it comes to carrying a small little package, it's not about the size. It's about the personality, right? So the Bodyguard 2.0, I had to keep my mouth shut about this little thing here since like November, December of last year. So now I'm finally able to present it to you. But before I get into this little guy here, Smith and Wesson has been sending me out firearms for free for review for the better part of maybe 3 years, maybe 4 years, something like that. So I've been getting firearms from them when they release them for a while now. Aside from that though, I did get invited out to the Smith and Wesson headquarters out in Maryville, or for you Tennesseans out there, is it Tennesseans? Merville, Tennessee, and they they kind of debuted this gun along with their lever action and along with a couple other guns that they probably already released. And when I did go out to Tennessee and see their beautiful headquarters, I was able to get some footage out there and talk to Corey from Smith and Wesson during the range day when we were testing these little 380s here, and I did get a good interview from him explaining the whole ordeal. So let me just go over to Corey during that time. And if it's weird that I'm wearing a big fluffy jacket and it's summertime right now, again, I filmed this way back in like November or December, so it was pretty cold that day. So here's Corey. Alrighty guys, I am here with my good friend Corey at Smith and Wesson. Corey, nice to see you like always.
Dude, it's a pleasure.
What exactly do you do at Smith and Wesson, and what do we have here in front of us today?
So I try to do the bare minimum, but I am in product management.
Gotcha.
So we are holding our brand new Bodyguard 2.0. Take everything you didn't like about the Bodyguard originally, throw it away. This is the new one. So we got high capacity, we've got a great new trigger, cool serrations on the top, natural point of aim's really good, enough stippling to give you enough grip, but not too much, so pocket carry is still an option without tearing up your pants.
Gotcha.
The sight's natural point of aim, perfect. Got that tritium front sight. This is the optimum concealed carry gun.
Gotcha. Let's talk about all the features now in detail. So capacity, what are we looking at here? We got a 10+1 and what else?
And a 12+1.
So 10+1 and a 12+1, 380, correct?
Correct, yep. And
Gotcha.
the 12+1 has that little pinky extension, so those of you who have like bigger hands, wrap right around right there.
And even me, I have smaller hands, right? And I can kind of fit with the flush mag. It's pretty damn good on that.
You're right about there, yep.
Yeah. So next up, we have another feature on that one that we don't have on this one, and that's the safety, right?
Yep, so it comes with manual safety or non. I prefer the non. Also, while we're going through on the bottom here, we have the interchangeable mag. So for those of you who are left-handed, you can swap that mag release to the other side, which is kind of cool.
Gotcha. Now, this is an internal striker fired, right?
Yes, this is striker fired, correct.
Striker fired, cool. Yep. So what size is this barrel length right here?
So the barrel is 2 3/4 inches. Again, 380. And again, if we can go back, look at that texturing here.
Yeah.
Putting your trigger finger off there, and trying to maximize again with the frame being as small as possible. We even have texturing on the takedown lever, which is just phenomenal.
You have texturing there, and then you also have some texturing, like a little gas pedal type thing.
Almost
there,
like,
right?
yeah, for your support thumb to get on. And I don't know if you've shot this yet, but this thing just
I
nice.
shot at least like 8 or 10 rounds out, 10 mags, not rounds, magazines full. And this thing is, I think out of all the firearms here, this is my favorite.
Yeah, I'm super excited to get my hands on this.
And that thing is tiny, man. Look at that thing.
Yeah. A lot of people were asking, like, you know, hey, why didn't you put a red dot on this? But I mean, you look at how skinny that slide is. I don't know if there's a red dot that exists that would fit that. It is just, again, we're going deep concealment. We're going small. This is like the micro machine
pocket carry type gun.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure somebody will figure out some way to put an optic on this thing. And we are back. Unfortunately, I didn't look at that footage before coming to film this segment here, so I don't really know what questions I asked Corey during that video, and hopefully I'm not going to be too repetitive when I'm going over this gun, so I'll just try to skim through a couple things, but focus on the most important things here. And right at the front, we have a 2.75-inch barrel. This is chambered in 380. This slide here has very nice aggressive serrations, so right here, you don't have any slippage issues, even having that small surface area to grab onto. Just be careful though, when I was out there trying to take a round out of the gun, I had to force myself to rack it this way, just because on a bigger gun, I usually grab it from the front and kind of do this here and have that round fall into my hand. But since this gun is so tiny, it's very easy to kind of, and I'm gonna flag myself here, guys. So just to show you that it's empty, no rounds in this gun whatsoever. But when I racked that gun back, I kind of was about to twist it into my arm here before I caught myself. I'm like, oh yeah, that's getting kind of too close for my comfort. So just be very careful with putting your hand at the front of this muzzle, because there's a very, very small amount of surface area there to grab onto. You got a orange, bright orange front sight there and a blacked out rear, and the front sight is also a tritium insert on the inside there. The lower end here, grip wise, it is very comfortable. Usually with tiny little micro guns, I hate having my overhanging pinky off of there, and I just don't like it, and I usually get pinched when I reload. So this is the extended mag, and when you're getting this gun here, you get 2 magazines, a 10-round mag, which is flush fit, and a 12-round mag, which is this one here. But even with the flush fit mag, and I don't know where I put that thing, but even with the flush fit mag, it does not let my finger overhang. But those of you that have bigger hands might have a bigger issue with that. And let me discuss just the bigger hands issue. So I don't think I have big hands whatsoever. I mean, I feel like I have short, stubby fingers and a normal size man palm there. So when it comes to this gun here, it's extremely comfortable for me. It's kind of like the perfect size for my female, male-ish size hands, my medium hands here. But those of you guys out there that pick one of these up, be very careful with this thing, because your fingers are probably going to be normal size man fingers, and you could already see right there that my finger is really kind of getting close to that muzzle end there. So if you have normal fingers, you'd probably be indexing right about there, as well as once you have your grip here, your thumb might be sticking too far forward. So just be conscious of where your fingers are going to be on this little guy here. Now you do have grip texturing on the left and the right side here on the front of that dust cover there. And you do have some grip texturing on the little takedown lever here. I think you need as much grip texturing as you can on this little gun, just because there's not a whole lot of surface area on this gun, guys. I mean, when I have my grip on this little one here, you can see right there, I really don't have anything, and I don't have anything up here on the surface. So it's kind of hard to get a good, even purchase on this whole gun here. It's just a tiny, tiny little gun. And I could only imagine if you have full-size fingers that are probably gonna touch your palm with this gun here. So I would say just mess around with it, get a good grip. I usually grip my gun and have most of the surface area on the top here anyway, so when I grip the gun, I kind of torque my hands in this motion here, and most of the meat of my palm is hitting the top of the frame here instead of down here. So I don't really have an issue shooting this gun. Now moving on, I'm kind of jumping around here, but it does not have an optic cut, and when I spoke to Smith and Wesson when I went out to their headquarters, that's the first thing I asked, is why it doesn't have an optics cut, and they just simply informed me that it's just way too skinny to put any optic that's out there on here. Maybe potentially somebody can make a plate that can adapt to this, but this thing is extremely thin, guys. Let me pull out my phone here. This is an iPhone, and you can see that thing there is almost as thin as my phone. It's nuts how small this little thing is. But yeah, so I don't think you're going to get an optic ready version of this anytime soon, as well as a accessory rail version here, just because I don't see any type of light that would even go to this. The optic and that light might make it so bulky that it's just kind of counterproductive at that point to even have this gun. You do get nice grip texturing on the front of that grip and on the rear of that grip, as well as the mag release. I did not have any issues extracting that mag or have any issues with the gun shooting whatsoever. I shot around 500 rounds of 380 through this thing and didn't have one single problem. And lastly, the trigger. This is something where I'm kind of iffy about. It's not a horrible trigger. It's just the feeling I get on that trigger once I pull it that's a little weird to me. You kind of get a little springiness on there. You can feel that whole striker kind of vibrating on the inside, if that makes sense. So it's nothing where I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm not used to feeling springiness inside of the gun, but I would guess just because this is so tiny that you can just feel everything on it. But with this trigger, you do get a flat face design, and it is not too heavy, decent reset, but just that springiness just kind of throws me off. But it wasn't something where I couldn't shoot this gun consistently. I didn't have any trigger freeze when I was out there, and I was able to get decent splits, but I mean, it's a tiny little carry gun, so I wasn't expecting too much out of this trigger. So I'm gonna bring up some popular guns that you might own and see the comparison between the two as far as size goes. So that way you can kind of get an idea of how small this thing is. So I'm going to start with the Glock 48 here. So this is a Glock 48. And if my camera doesn't focus, I'll get you some B-roll footage. But here's the Glock 48 in size right there. I don't know if you can see that. But you can see that it is a hell of a lot thinner and a hell of a lot smaller. Next up is the SIG X Macro here. There it is. You can definitely see that it's a lot smaller. Next up is the Springfield Hellcat. You can see there, this is the Hellcat Pro, by the way, not the normal Hellcat. I feel like I have a normal Hellcat over there, but you kind of get the idea. This is the Springfield Hellcat, how thin it is, how small it is. And then we have the Smith and Wesson Shield, and this is what probably a lot of people are gonna sit here and compare it to is, why would I buy this little guy over a Smith and Wesson Shield? Well, aside from the caliber difference, I think 9mm is far superior than 380. You do have a big difference in size here. So the Shield is known as a very small gun in my eyes, and you can still see how much smaller this little guy is. It's just crazy how tiny this thing is here. But now let's get the Shield out of the way and compare it to another 380, which is the SIG P238, that's what it's called. But the SIG P238, I feel like it's probably my smallest 380 in my collection. And comparing it to this, you can definitely see that it's very, very similar in size here, other than the width. So if you're looking at it here, you can see that the 238 is thicker than the Bodyguard 2.0, but the size is almost identical in length. So if you're comparing the back of the beaver tail there to the back of the beaver tail on the Bodyguard 2.0 to the tip of the barrels, it's very similar. And the grip length is also very similar here. But where the Bodyguard 2.0 blows the SIG P238 out of the water is the capacity. The 238 only has, what is this, like 8 rounds or something like that, 9 rounds. This one is holding 12 rounds with that extension, or 10 round flush fit. So you do get a good amount of extra rounds through this one here. But that pretty much does it for the Smith and Wesson 2.0, or the Bodyguard 2.0, sorry. Very fun little gun to shoot. When we were out there shooting, this is before they released the lever action. This is before they released, I don't know what other guns they had that they released so far, but everybody kind of kept coming to this little 380 here. It's just unbelievable how fun this thing is to shoot, but also super manageable. That 380 is literally like almost shooting a 22. But what do you guys think of the new Bodyguard 2.0? Do you think it's unnecessary? Do you think it fits a certain criteria? Do you think it's a really cool carry? For me personally, I would carry something like this in maybe some jogging shorts, or something where I don't feel like carrying something that I can feel that's rubbing against my skin and some weight to it. I could just pick this up, put it in my pocket, and go, obviously with a good holster, so that way it covers up that trigger guard. But I'm interested to hear what you would want this for. My wife really likes it because it's so small, and she kind of has an issue when it comes down to her wardrobe on finding a very thin and small gun. So I feel like she's probably going to take this from me, and I'm gonna have to buy another one. So there it is, the Bodyguard 2.0. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for sticking around. Love you all, appreciate you all. Catch you in the next one.